Okay. Good evening. I am aware that since the last gathering, some of you have had fun let us say, considering the shortcomings of women, if indeed Eve is their role model, and by the same token, jabs have been pointed at men for their gullibility. But before we go on, I want to back up for perspective. In the Bible, there are three accounts of creation. One in the New Testament and two in the Old Testament. The one in the New Testament is the simplest, the most straightforward. The one that is so simple that it bypasses everyone's grasp of the totality of its meaning. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." In the first chapter of Genesis, that very simple rendition of creation is fleshed out, wherein it says, "And God said, let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. Let there be plants, and let there be cattle, and let there be whales," and so on. And then God charged all of what He created to be fruitful and multiply. And then it says that on the seventh day, because in order to flesh it out, a structure had to be provided, a storyline, you might say, even though creation could not have taken time to occur. And on the seventh day, God rested. There was completion. And then it says, "And God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was very good." Which really means, and it was very good. And I have said before that a clearer understanding of that statement can be found in these words. "And God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was verily," or really, God. So, in the beginning was the Word, and God said, "Let there be." And the Word was with God, and God saw everything that He had made, and the Word was God. And behold, it was verily God. Creation is finished. Creation is complete. And creation is the movement of the mind of God, which God sees and recognizes himself in. It is all about God, from first to last. It is all God. So, where's this Adam and Eve? Well, in the second chapter of Genesis it says, "But there went up a mist from the ground." Well, let me ask you this. If you are at a movie and you see the image on the screen begin to waver and shift and become mystified and unclear and then resolve itself in a new scene, you naturally assume that you have shifted into a different reality. It is easy to assume that, and I encourage you to assume that when you read after creation has been completed, and a mist went up from the ground. And then there's a key sentence. It says, "And there was no man to till the ground." Well, you know what? The way it's written sounds like the lead-in to what follows, but it's really the conclusion to what has already been written. Creation does not include a man to till the ground. It does not include a man to make his mark in the world. It does not include a man to exert authority and change creation. It does not include a man to give definition to everything, because God has already defined it completely and charged it to be fruitful and multiply, to flourish. So, according to this second creation, God creates man from the earth and breathes into it life. And then he causes a deep sleep to occur because Adam is lonely and needs a helpmate. Is this beginning to sound familiar? Because we're beginning to describe the realm of mutually agreed upon definitions, and without a helpmate, how can there be a mutually agreed upon definition? Right? And so he takes a rib out of Adam's chest, and from that makes woman. And the rest is history, literally. Because history is a record of time that in eternity is an illusion. And everything that follows from there on throughout the Bible is a record of illusion. It is all based upon the trials and tribulations of being a man or a woman to till the soil, and to suffer through and survive the, quote, human condition. The moment that mist arose in the story, everything became an example of life, of creation being experienced through a glass darkly, through the distortion of mutually agreed upon definitions and I'm going to say a conscious ignoring of reality that doesn't require a man to till the soil, that doesn't require a woman to slave and sweat over a stove and labor. So, be careful when you have fun at the expense of women or when you have fun at the expense of men, because there ain't no such creatures. You see, you might have been tempted to believe that the fall occurred after Eve tempted Adam, that the illusion began after Eve tempted Adam and he agreed to join her. But the illusion started where the mist rose from the ground. And it's an important thing to understand. If you don't understand it, you can buy into the idea that you are all descendants, one way or another, of Adam and Eve, since they are the first ones capable of being parents. And even if you hadn't thought of it that way, in the more immediate present, you do see yourselves as descendants of your parents, who are descendants of their parents, who are descendants of their parents, and then you don't usually think much further back than that. But you can't be the descendants of your parents because you are the direct expression of God. And you embody all that God is. Mind, experiencing itself, and recognizing itself in the experience. This is very key. And I didn't want to let it escape your attention. You see, waking up isn't about getting back into the Garden of Eden. It's about getting back before the Garden of Eden, before the mist arose from the ground, before the whole story of an existence separate from God began or seemed to begin. Before we start reading, I want to mention something that we've discussed earlier, that you have no private thoughts. It's relatively easy to engage in the uncomplimentary assessment of women as beguilers, temptresses. In fact, if you're a man, you can make a point of looking for the best temptress you can find. But what I want to point out to you is that because none of you have any private thoughts, because you truly aren't separate from anything, every thought you have is beguiling. Every thought you have is tempting. And I prefer using the word tempting now. Every thought you have is an invitation that goes out from you like a messenger, looking for that which confirms it. It invites a joining in agreement. Every single thought, whether it's a hateful thought, whether it's a loving thought, whether it's a thought that finds its basis in the version of creation found in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, or whether it's a thought that finds its basis in the 1st chapter. And so everyone who's thinking is engaging in beguiling, or is engaging in making an invitation to acknowledge the truth. Your thoughts are either seductive or they are illuminative. Either they seduce another or they promote the illumination of another. I'm not saying this to convict anyone of anything, but to point out something that happens unconsciously if you're not aware that you're not the offspring of Adam and Eve. If you're not aware that no such form of creation ever took place at the hand of God. No matter what great religious books you read, you will find attempts to account for existence. And so you will find a creation story. The clearest account of creation is in these words: in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So that means the Word wasn't you. And that means that you are the Word that is God. It means that you are God in action, in presence, in being, right now. And that's what waking up is the discovery of. Now, we will go to the book. We have a question.
I noticed in the two creations that the name of the deity changes. The first creation, like an older name for God, Elam or the wind or something like that. And the second creation where Adam and the mist is happening, it's called the Lord God, more of a Yahweh kind of a guy. Is my perception correct on that?
That is correct. Yes.
Is there significance to that?
Only that it represents the fact that there's a different source for each of the creations.
The first one's older story.
The first one is the truest story. It doesn't have anything to do with time.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome.
All fear is ultimately reducible to the basic misperception that you have the ability to usurp the power of God. Of course, you neither can nor have been able to do this.
In other words, whatever everyone thinks happened after the mist arose from the ground did not change creation as it is represented in the first chapter. What you think you have done has never happened. It's as simple as that. Continue.
Here's the real basis for your escape from fear.
Why? Because it means that you cannot possibly be in the frame of mind, the mutually agreed upon joint frame of mind, wherein mutually agreed upon definitions have occurred and seemed to have caused a different experience of reality than what it really is. Continue.
The escape is brought about by your acceptance of the atonement, which enables you to realize that your errors never really occurred.
You see? Continue.
Only after the deep sleep fell upon Adam could he experience nightmares. If a light is suddenly turned on while someone is dreaming a fearful dream, he may initially interpret the light itself as part of his dream and be afraid of it. However, when he awakens, the light is correctly perceived as the release from the dream, which is then no longer accorded reality.
Now, this uses an example of light as opposed to darkness when you do your dreaming. But what I want to point out to you is that, again, the glass top table, the carpet, your fingernails, these are all reality seen through a glass darkly, and therefore can be misinterpreted. But because what they truly are has never stopped being the presence and expression of God, they serve just as much as light as that which can trigger your waking up from the dream and thus seeing them as they truly are. Continue.
This release does not depend on illusions. The knowledge that illuminates not only sets you free, but also shows you clearly that you are free.
And that you always have been. And in the discovery that you always have been, there's absolutely no occasion for entertaining guilt for all this time that you seem to have wasted in an illusion. Because the clarity of being awake shows you that you never were in a dream. And because you never were in a dream, and because you always were present in reality as who you really are, the memory of who you, in your right mind, were being all along is returned to you. Even though you weren't paying any attention to it for all that time because you were preoccupied and committed to your definition of everything. Continue.
Whatever lies you may believe are of no concern to the miracle, which can heal any of them with equal ease.
So whatever lies you believe can't actually block you from waking up, can't actually cause you to be undeserving of knowing and experiencing the truth. And therefore it can't hold off your realization of the truth in any way. Continue.
It makes no distinctions among misperceptions.
Miracles do not. Indeed. Continue.
Its sole concern is to distinguish between truth on the one hand and error on the other. Some miracles may seem to be of greater magnitude than others, but remember the first principle in this course: there is no order of difficulty in miracles.
And there is no order of magnitude of illusions. A mistake is a mistake. A misperception is a misperception. That's all. Continue.
In reality, you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love. These can be from yourself and others, from yourself to others, or from others to you. Peace is an attribute in you. You cannot find it outside. Illness is some form of external searching. Health is inner peace.
Yes. Inner peace is what you experience when you stop sending out messengers of fear. When you stop sending out messengers of hate. When you stop sending out messengers of jealousy. When you stop sending out messages of arrogance. And when you choose to become still, and you experience your peace, as I've said before, you find yourself beginning to be filled with the experience of being loved. And the result is joy, and now you're engaged in sending out messengers of joy, which will return to you with confirmation of that which is joyous. Continue.
It enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without, and capable, through your acceptance of miracles, of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others.
Indeed. When another sends out a messenger of hate or fear to you, and finds you non-responsive because you've chosen to be in your peace where you find joy, it does not bring back confirmation of what it is looking for from you, but your expression of joy right in the face of that, your experience of joy that is sending out messengers of joy, has the opportunity to find a joyful response in the one who had been sending out a messenger of hate or fear. And your messenger of joy is an active agent for change because it has its origin in the movement of God Himself that you have let in. Messengers of fear are not agents of change. You might say that they are agents of paralysis, agents of immobilization, but not agents of